You're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, 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 other than day one.
Donald Trump has successfully moved the Overton window in a way that is as dangerous for the future of democracy in this country as anything else.
This is what Vout and Project 2025 wanted.
Newsom is he's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
They control the Congress, they control the White House, and they control the courts. And so, of course, they're massively overreaching. And yes, they are getting away with it right now.
This is clearly a man who cannot tolerate criticism of him or what he does, which is exactly what authoritarianism is all about.
The New York Times is just as fake as CNN and MSDNC. They really are the enemy of the people.
What he is saying, rather bluntly, if you stand up to Donald Trump, he will punish you.
Protesters in Philadelphia, state capitals in California, Minnesota, Michigan, Texas, Wisconsin, Indiana, and others showed up to oppose Trump, Musk, and Project 2025.
US and President Trump has overseen America's largest military parade in decades as nationwide protests take place against his leadership.
Demonstrations are happening right across the United States today to oppose the Trump administration.
Two visions of America. On a day the country's deepening divide was there for all the world to see.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf, and you're watching Logically Left right here, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all the usual suspects. Okay. Got a great show for you all this Tuesday afternoon. A lot of interesting stories. We got, of course, AOC and Jasmine Crockett were targeted by President Donald Trump, who, of course, tried to call them stupid. Okay, that's nothing that's unusual here, okay? I know. Insanity. We have the President of the United States that's just regularly calling congresswomen of color dumb. And so the funny thing is they responded. And it is awesome. So it is both hilarious and also kind of sad. The situation here in this country. But nonetheless, I've got their responses here. And of course, what Trump originally said. We've got then a UFC star, I guess. I don't watch UFC, so whatever. But a UFC fighter that was very, very pro-Trump. Okay. Where he's like, I would take a bullet for Donald Trump. Well, it turns out, not so much anymore. Yeah. So this UFC star, I guess, fighter, is now calling Trump the Antichrist. So, oh, wow, how the turntables, everybody. So there we go. You know, talking about.
It's the devil, okay?
Yeah. Oh, it's the devil. Trump, Antichrist. Wow. We've got some, I said ICE infighting in the title, but I think that's kind of misleading. It's more of intergovernmental fighting. You've got ICE versus Border Patrol. Very strange, okay? We've got a purge going on here of ICE leadership. And you're not going to be surprised. It's because ICE is failing. So, not good. We've got then Trump rolling back a Biden decision on medical debt. So it's about to make things much, much worse for millions of Americans. Those who have a very uniquely American problem, which is, again, medical debt, which doesn't exist pretty much anywhere else, okay? Only in America. Okay, American problem. And what little Biden did to try to help with that, mainly keeping it off your credit report, which I wish Biden would have been able to abolish medical debt because it shouldn't exist at all. What he did do is say, well, at least it's not going to affect your credit report. Trump undoing that. So, disaster. And then Kansas. Kansas, one of the states that voted for President Donald Trump in the 2024 election, is now in a recession as a result. So, and not just Kansas, but you have 22 other states that are also in a recession. There are 2 states that are keeping the entire United States out of a recession, and they are teetering on the edge. Oof. So I've got the details, what states are, what states are in recession, and it's not good. It's not good. And why? Oh boy. Okay. So anyway, let's start out here with the AOC Crockett versus Donald Trump story. A little bit of fun here before I get into the disaster. But before I dive into those, and yes, Whitney Allison, you guessed it correctly. California and New York are the only states that are keeping us, the entire United States, out of a recession. And again, they're teetering on the edge. Not good. So, like, you already know what's going up. What's going up? What's going on? You already know what's up, what's going on. You're awake, you're aware, which apparently a little bit more than I am, because I've just been dragging ass all day. So there aren't enough coffee in the world to wake me up right now, in this hellscape that we live in. So that sucks. But anyway, before we dive into doing the stories, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Helps the show out very much. And also, you can, if you can support the show, please do so. I need your help more than ever. Really, things are not good financially, economically, for independent left, progressive YouTube. Things are not great. So please sign up, become a patron, become a supporter, become a member, do all that stuff, because I really, really do need your help. All right. Yeah, I'm not a tea person. Just give me my hot bean water, okay? I'm sorry. I just prefer it. It's just it tastes better to me. To me. All right. With that said, let's do it. Oh boy. All right. God. Uh-oh. President Donald Trump is once again talking about his dementia test. Oh, here we go again. Okay.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Oh boy. Recently on Air Force One, he talked about, he talked about something. Nobody can really ever tell what Trump is talking about. But let me just go to the video, because he takes some shots at AOC and Jasmine Crockett.
They have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person. They have AOC's low IQ. You give her an IQ test, have her pass like the exams that I decided to take when I was at Walter Reed. Those are very hard, they're really aptitude tests, I guess, in a certain way, but they're cognitive tests. Let AOC go against Trump. Let Jasmine go against Trump. I don't think Jasmine, the first couple of questions are easy. A tiger, an elephant, a giraffe, When you get up to about 5 or 6, and then when you get up to 10 and 20 and 25, they couldn't come close to answering any of those questions.
Please read out.
Oh, yeah. So here we go again with the I am smarter than everyone. Look at my IQ test. but that wasn't an IQ test that you took. It is most likely a variation on something called the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, okay? Also known as the MoCA, which sounds really good right now because I need some caffeine. But now the MoCA test is a 10-minute assessment that is designed to identify signs of dementia or Alzheimer's. And it looks kind of like this, all right? So there you go. You know, you got a rhino, you got a camel, you got a lion. You know, you have to hold that. Okay, you got to identify that. This is the test that he says is really hard. Okay, to me, I don't know. That doesn't exactly look like the LSAT or anything like that. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't think you have to be a genius to be able to pass that test. Okay, I really don't. I really don't think you have to be all that smart. But anyway, I know.
And then they say, "Is Donald Trump an intellectual?" Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Oh dear God. That's anyway. AOC and Representative Crockett, who were targets of this. Okay, and by the way, they're women of color. Okay, they were the targets, and he regularly calls women of color stupid. I think that there are certain reasons for that. Number one, him being, of course, super racist. But anyway, AOC first responded on X/Twitter. She said, quote, "Hello, Mr. President. Out of curiosity, did those doctors ask you to draw a clock by any chance? Was that part hard for you too? Asking for 340 million people." Okay. Look, this entire situation is both sad and hilarious, okay? This is the discourse around the most powerful person on the planet, okay? And again, as I mentioned, racism, right? Trump's statements are pure packaged racism and misogyny on brand. Not surprising at all. Look, AOC and Jasmine Crockett are obviously very smart people. Okay, they're both very well educated, and if you've watched any congressional hearing, for example, when AOC is asking the questions, she drills down into the details to the nitty gritty. Okay, she gives facts and she figures, and she gives facts and figures, and she always has her receipts. Okay, so why is Trump calling her stupid? Well, people like Trump are afraid of strong, educated women, especially women of color. That's why he tries to tear them down. Okay. So, I mean, I think we all already knew all of this. That said, AOC's response was fantastic. Crockett's response, I think, was even better. Take a look.
Listen, you know, I'm waiting on a reporter, and maybe it'll be you, Caitlin, that finally ask him what is his IQ, because he is constantly talking about, he doesn't even know what a low IQ is. He don't even know which scores are low. And I can guarantee you that whatever score, if he's taken one anytime recently, I'm sure that his qualifies as low. Listen, he's never been known to be an Einstein. This is not a guy who got in on merit when it came to going to college. This is someone who, but for him being born with a silver spoon, probably wouldn't have got into anybody's institution, unlike me. So, you know, I am not worried about that, and I wish people would look at the fact that you have a president of the United States who consistently is obsessing over two women of color that are members of the House. You are the president. You have a lot more power than we do, but obviously you consistently feel threatened, and that is why we have seen, you know, the attacks on black women in general from this administration. I don't know what black woman hurt him in his past, honey, but it is really taken him through it. But I really wish, for the sake of this country and honestly for the sake of the world, that he would focus on his real job and stop worrying about me. My constituents would worry about whether or not I have an adequate IQ, even though that's not the test that he's taking. And it's up to them to decide. It's not him. He can't hire me or fire me, unfortunately for him.
I absolutely love that response. Okay. I love both responses, but Crockett just kind of completely nails it. Okay. Look, it is so obvious to so many people that Trump feels threatened by strong, intelligent women of color, okay? And the reason for that, of course, is because he's not smart, okay? Now, I'm not saying that he's not like, oh, or that his brain is like leaking out of his head. Well, okay, I have said that. But let's just, I'm going to give him a compliment here. He is really, really good at marketing. He is also really good at using emotional appeals at people in order to sell them things. That's right. Trump is very, very good at using feelings, emotive language, as well as language of disgust, okay, over facts. All right? That he's not so good at facts. He's pretty bad at facts. Okay? In fact, there's a quote here that was attributed to the late Professor William T. Kelly, okay, who had taught Trump at Wharton, okay? That was the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, okay? Big economics school, okay? Now, in his class, he had talked about Donald Trump as a student, okay? And said, quote, Donald Trump was the dumbest goddamn student I ever had. Dr. Kelly also said that he believed that Donald Trump came to Wharton thinking that he already knew everything. Now, he is just not that smart, okay? And add in being lazy, arrogant, and entitled. That's Trump. And look, perhaps maybe there is something wrong with his brain, okay? He admitted just recently that he got an MRI at Walter Reed. Now, wait a minute, what does that matter? Well, doctors don't normally order MRIs without cause. I'm just saying. MRIs can highlight symptoms associated with conditions such as strokes, other brain issues, tumors. Okay, Donald Trump he's 79 years old. Okay, he has chronic venous insufficiency, which is why you see, like, he's got cankles, okay? Because that's what happens. Blood pools in your legs, okay? And gives you swollen cankles. That's it. The fact is, what I'm trying to point out is, at 79, he's not exactly the most healthy person in the world, all right? Despite what he constantly says. He's also not the smartest person around. And so, yes, AOC and Jasmine Crockett absolutely have the right of it when it comes to mocking him for his ridiculous boasts of being so high IQ. And there you go. All right, we've got more. Oh. Yes, it doesn't take a genius to know that the real problem is money controlling the entire system. And you're absolutely right. Look, money in politics is the root of all of our corruption, and pretty much one of the only reasons that someone like Donald Trump could actually get support in this system. Okay, when you purchase the system, money through our system of campaign finance, which just lets pretty much anything go, then yeah, you end up with someone like this. All right. So anyway, let's move on. Bro, Trump is threatened to buy stairs. That's a good one. All right. Best audience in the world. Okay. A UFC fighter who wholeheartedly supported President Donald Trump has finally turned on him. This is UFC bantamweight contender Bryce Mitchell, who said just last year, that he would be happy to take a bullet and die for Donald Trump. And so that's how much of a MAGA guy he is, all right? But last week, he came out and was like, I think I may have made a mistake here, okay? he actually called Trump both corrupted and had likened him to the Antichrist. That's pretty significant, okay? So, I mean, talking about how, this guy might be the Antichrist.
It's the devil, okay?
Oh, wow. That's quite a turnaround there. Okay, so now, look, Mitchell, he's got some pretty extreme takes, okay? So this is not someone who's had a lib awakening, all right? No, he's an anti-vaxxer. He had once called Hitler a good guy, okay, and was forced to apologize for it. He's also a Holocaust denier. So, I mean, when you think about it, like, wait a minute, well, shouldn't this guy absolutely love Donald Trump? Well, he did. He did. But there are some very big issues that he has with Trump, okay? So, and there's a reason that he's losing these people. Now, in a post, I believe it was on Instagram, he wrote, "I want to let y'all know I'm not with Donald Trump no more. I don't support him. I don't like him. I think he's a corrupted leader. And yeah, it took me a while to come to that conclusion, but I am finally coming to it. I do not like the guy at all." All right, strong statements. And he lays out some actually pretty compelling reasons for that. You're not going to be surprised. The first thing for me was that he didn't release the Epstein files. That's right. That's right. A lot of people over on the right are like, the Epstein files, I mean, you campaigned on that. You said you were going to release the Epstein files, and then you didn't. Well, that's because he's in the Epstein files. Okay. He added, quote, "They're even acting like it didn't exist." Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, no, I've got the Epstein files right on my desk. And we're going to release them very, very soon. Oh, what Epstein files? There are no Epstein files. Just ignore it. No, nobody cares about Epstein anymore. No, let's just move on. Let's just move on. That's because he's in it. He's in the Epstein files. All right. But there's more. And then, of course, he says, they're sending Israel and Ukraine all of our tax dollars, just like the numbnuts before him did, putting America last. And he's referring, of course, to Joe Biden. Quote, "And now he's blaming the beef farmers for the price of beef." I've talked about that, how really what's impacting beef prices, we got very, very small herds now, the result of drought, climate change, hey, that's a thing. And of course, the price of feed is much more expensive. There's less grazing land that you can use because of, again, drought and climate change. And so, yeah, cattle farmers not doing so well. And yet Trump's like, "Oh, I did so much for you guys, for you cattle farmer. Why don't you just lower your price of beef?" Well, they can't do that. They can't do that. So there are certain reasons, okay? And again, supply and demand, right? Their supply is low, demand is still very high. And I'm sorry, but buying a whole bunch of beef from Argentina is not really going to do anything to help the farmers, and it's also really not going to help a whole lot with the prices. So, yeah. But anyway, getting back to his quote here, his post, Mitchell says, quote, "Hey, I'm not biased, man. He talked a good game. He tricked me. I was fooled. I admit it." Well then, and there you go. You kind of got to appreciate the honesty, at least. And look, I think that there is a subset of MAGA folks, okay? And maybe small, but I think that there's a subset of people that are starting to feel this way, but might be too afraid to speak out. I know, I talk about how, yes, there's a lot of MAGA is basically a cult, okay? And even if people are unsure about what's going on, they can't just immediately leave the cult. I mean, look at Scientology. It's a great example of that, right? You just lose everything if you leave the cult, or if you try to leave the cult. And so I think that there are some people who are in that are having second thoughts, but they can't leave. They can't leave. And so they're afraid of what they're going to lose. All right. And on Israel, all right, a lot of lefties agree that, hey, we shouldn't be giving so much. We shouldn't be giving anything to Israel, honestly, especially when they were doing a genocide. Okay. That country, by the way, they've got universal health care. We don't. Why are we subsidizing their health care, and when we can't even get health care for our own citizens? Doesn't make any sense. And why are we giving them all this money for weapons when they've shown that they're more than capable of being able to defend themselves? And not only that, but to wage war on innocent, Palestinians in Gaza. I mean, come on. Ridiculous. So look, I don't agree with a lot of these folks on a lot of issues, right? But there are some things that are kind of universal at this point. Where members of both parties can kind of get together and go, oh, yeah, I actually do agree with you. I mean, yeah, we shouldn't be giving Israel all this money and all these weapons. And look, when Marjorie Taylor Greene can come out and say things that make sense, like, yeah, we shouldn't be doing a genocide, and oh yeah, we shouldn't let the ACA tax credits expire at the end of the year and make everybody's health insurance costs go way, way up. We shouldn't be doing that. I mean, that's a great example of the universal things that we can agree on. Okay, so now that said, this is the best part. He goes on to quote the Bible, okay, as these people do. Quote, okay, let me tell you how bad I think this is, though. This is really this bad, guys. I want y'all, if you're a Christian, I want y'all to get into Revelation 13:3. I want you to read that verse about the Antichrist, about the one who was fatally wounded in the head or ear, perhaps, but it wasn't a fatal wound. It wasn't a wound at all. But again, he's trying to draw that parallel, obviously. Then he was miraculously healed, and the whole world marveled at him and said, no man can make war with him. Yeah, I do think that Trump is that beast of Revelation 13:3. Yeah, go read it. There ain't another man that's ever walked a planet that fits Revelation 13:3. Then read the rest of the chapter, and it'll tell you the mark of the beast is coming. Oh my God. Literally. Now, I'm not saying I know that Donald Trump is this man of Revelation 13:3. I'm just saying he's the only one who could be right now. Look, I remember when right-wingers were like, Obama, mark of the beast. Not so much, okay? But I remember when they would talk about that. Not so much anymore, all right? Not so much anymore. Okay. He said, he's done to me. He's done. He's a goner. He's compromised. It sucks to say that because I supported him for a long time. But he's a good actor. And he had me fooled for a long, long time. God bless y'all and thank you. Wow. Look, y'all know I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in any of this stuff. But there are some interesting parallels that you could draw with Trump and the Antichrist or the great deceiver. Because one of the things that actually made me become an atheist is reading this stuff in the Bible. Okay. Nonetheless, let me read some of the things, some of the characteristics of the Antichrist. All right. For one, he will head up a kingdom, even an empire similar to other nation states or empires. Well, he's president of the United States. Okay. He will be a charismatic, lawless dictator who will deceive the world. I wouldn't say the world is deceived, but there are a lot of people on the, religious right specifically that have been deceived. Okay. And by the way, he's also working on being the lawless dictator. I mean, he's already ignored about 35% of court rulings made against him. So he's working on that. Quote, he will speak proud words and blasphemies. I mean, literally, like, all the time. Okay. I don't think I have to go into much detail about that one. He will redefine what is evil and what is good. He will promote doctrinal and ethical lawlessness. Look, I'm saying, not exactly fit, on everything, but there are a lot of things that can kind of fit. Now, the thing about biblical prophecy is that it's pretty vague on purpose, but there are a lot of people that could fit some of those descriptions, and Trump is one of those people, okay? But all I know for certain, okay, is that Donald Trump's not a good person based on his actions. I mean, his all-consuming greed, the amount of grifts that he has run, the lies, over 30,000 in his first term alone. His obvious lust for power, talking about running for a third term. Like, no. By the way, the press needs to be like, no, that is completely illegal. We're not going to even talk about this. Patently unconstitutional and absolutely illegal. And we can also talk about him amassing power in the executive branch, which is what he's been doing, and of course punishing his political enemies. Okay, these are not the actions of a public servant, but instead someone who expects the public to serve him. That's it. And the more people that start to see this and turn against it, to speak out against it, we might not have to agree on everything. But I think if you do have the bravery to go from I was a believer to, oh my God, I cannot believe, I can't believe that I fell for it, basically. Well, the more people that do that and turn against him, the better. Okay. Move on to ICE fighting. Okay. Fighting with Customs and Border Patrol, perhaps? I don't know if I'm setting that up well. So let's just dive into it. Okay. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which has been doing immigration raids across the country, is still apparently failing to meet their deportation quota, which means in the agency, heads are rolling. All right. Now, this is according to a Fox News correspondent, Bill Malugin. Okay. He put out a report talking about how ICE leadership is basically facing their own night of the long knives. Okay. You got ICE leadership being replaced in places like Denver, El Paso, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Phoenix, San Diego, Portland, and LA. Okay, these are places where massive ICE operations have been ongoing. This purge, and that's what it is. It is being led by, of course, Kristi Noem, who is the DHS secretary, and Corey Lewandowski, who is a special government employee. And by the way, there have been a few salacious rumors surrounding Lewandowski's relationship with Kristi Noem. I don't know what's going on there, okay? But, it is entirely possible that there could be a little bit of
sexual anarchy
going on. I don't know. But nonetheless, they are working together to replace the leadership of ICE in these places because they're not meeting their quotas, okay? So now, inside the Department of Homeland Security, Lewandowski has actually helped compile a broad list of at least a dozen field members to be replaced or moved, with senior Border Patrol officials stepping into ICE posts, according to Fox News Digital. Interesting. Now, The outlet also detailed an unprecedented power shift that sources are calling tense and combative that has pitched two factions against each other. Interesting. Now, Border Czar Tom Homan and acting ICE Director Todd Lyons argue for targeted arrests of those with criminal convictions and final orders to leave. Whereas Noam Lewandowski and Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino want high visibility sweeps to increase daily counts as they try to hit a 3,000 person a day deportation benchmark set by Stephen Miller. Okay, so now they're not even close to that benchmark. They want 3,000 a day. They're around 1,178. Okay, that's as of late September. You know why? It's because there's just not that many criminal, illegal aliens in this country to begin with. No, what they're doing is they're picking up people who go to work, who check in with their immigration officers. That's when they're picking them up. Okay, people who might have let their visas lapse. As one officer said, what did everyone think mass deportations meant? Only the worst? Tom Homan said it himself. Anyone in the U.S. illegally is on the table, said that officer. Yes, that is, by the way, exactly what mass deportation meant. Okay? Yet some people didn't seem to understand that concept when they went into the voting booth. As I kept hearing people say, I didn't vote for that. I just wanted the criminals gone. Well, way more than that. Okay? Look, according to polls from the National Immigration Law Center, voters largely oppose these federal immigration officers detaining and arresting people in sensitive locations like hospitals, clinics, and places of worship. Again, they're not going after the worst of the worst. There's just not that many people there. So they're going after people who are at work or who are at church or outside of courtrooms, courthouses, things like that. Okay, a total of 56% of Americans disapprove of what ICE is doing, while around 38% approve. Opposition outweighs support within all age groups among white, black, and Latino voters. 2 and 3 voters, 68%, said that there should be a way for undocumented immigrants to stay in the country illegally, i.e. pathway to citizenship, if you have certain requirements that are met. So now DHS officials told Fox that the atmosphere inside the departments is tense and combative, warning that the broader blitz, which is what they're planning to do, it risks alienating the public and blurring the lines between ICE and Border Patrol. So, unfortunately, even though I gave you the poll numbers on that and how Americans are, by and large, against what they're doing, we're going to see even more of these very flashy, very violent raids, okay? You see, not only does Border Patrol not really care about pursuing the worst of the worst, okay, people with criminal records, but they're doing their raids extremely aggressively, which matches Trump's vision of made-for-TV deportation raids. In fact, one DHS official told NBC News, quote, President Donald Trump's top aides have welcomed Border Patrol's more aggressive tactics to secure arrests, such as rappelling into apartment buildings from Black Hawk helicopters and jumping out of rental trucks in Home Depot parking lots as they become disappointed with ICE. The mentality is CBP does what they're told, and the administration thinks ICE isn't getting the job done. So, CBP will do it. No, they won't. Okay, for the reasons that I've already discussed. They're just going to end up rounding up anybody who's brown. And it's not like they haven't already, okay? Look, these raids have already ensnared American citizens. Expect the number of incidents of American citizens increasing. That's going to be the result. And what's going to happen when the raids get even more violent than they already are? What happens when someone gets shot? An American citizen gets shot, or a child. Suddenly things ain't looking so good. And I know the average MAGA chud's probably not going to care. But everyone else who was already against this, everyone else who has empathy, everyone who finds out, like, oh my God, this is what's going on, this is what we're doing, they're going to care. And they will continue to turn on ICE, on DHS, and on Trump himself. They're setting themselves up for a massive, massive backlash. And who knows, maybe that's exactly what they want. Do they want the backlash? You know, do they want people to start, you know, protesting even more? Do they want those protests to start getting violent so they can do their own crackdowns? I don't know. I don't know. But I see absolutely nothing good coming out of these changes for anyone. Okay. Move on here. At a time when inflation is running rampant, millions of Americans are struggling to put food on the table, and with health insurance costs getting ready to skyrocket, the Trump administration is now looking to punish people who have medical debt. Yeah, punish people for getting sick and not being able to afford the insane prices of our health insurance system. Great. Now, this is according to a report in the Lever and Bloomberg Law. The Russell Vought-led Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which, again, is a joke, it's a perversion, if it's being led by one of the people who hates the idea of protecting consumers, Vought, apparently they will publish a non-binding interpretive rule arguing that federal statute generally preempts state law that touch on areas of credit reporting. Now, that guidance aligns with views expressed by a Trump-appointed federal judge in Texas, who earlier this year vacated a Biden-era CFPB rule that would have prohibited the inclusion of medical debt on people's consumer credit reports. The Trump administration, which has repeatedly violated court orders, is happening to comply with this decision. So, oh yeah, they violate the ones that they don't like, and then comply with the ones that they do. Great. Lovely. So now, if you're one of the roughly 20% of Americans that have medical debt on their credit report, you're going to be screwed. Okay? You're not going to be able to get credit, whether it be to buy a house or to buy a car, or get a car loan or get a home loan, anything like that, or even just get, a good rate on your credit cards, okay? So that you can pay down that debt, or use a credit card to get by, which a lot of Americans right now are using credit cards because they're not getting paid enough, and because things are so expensive now, they're using their credit cards to buy groceries. So, just having to rely on that for their basic needs, I mean, it shows you that we're in a lot of trouble, okay? But they're not going to be able to even rely on that stuff now because of medical debt, because of something that literally does not exist in other countries. Medical debt is a uniquely American problem. We don't have it anywhere else. Just here. Now, the Center for Consumer Law and Economic Justice at UC Berkeley notes that medical debt often reflects the simple misfortune of getting sick unexpectedly and having to face a medical system that is rife with insurance stonewalling, delay, and mistakes. Now, more than a dozen states, including California, Colorado, and New York, have moved to curb reporting of medical debt, which accounts for a significant percentage of personal bankruptcies in the United States. Again, a uniquely American problem. People declaring bankruptcy because of medical bills. People going and using GoFundMe to be able to pay for their medical bills, okay? To pay for an emergency surgery, or, once again, uniquely American problem, being involved in a mass shooting, being a victim of a mass shooting, and then not being able to afford the medical bills as a result of being in this uniquely American mass shooting. That's another problem. That the rest of the world looks at us and goes, what the hell are you doing, America? What is wrong with you people? Why is your government being so barbaric to you? I don't understand. Do you not have a government that is supposed to work for you? I mean, we may have some of our problems here over in whatever European country, right? But boy, you Americans, you really fucked up. Okay. Boy, did you mess up. What are you doing over there? I don't know. We're doing all the wrong things. That's what we're doing. Okay. All the wrong things. Okay. Now, the Lever reported that the Trump administration's position that federal law overrides state laws is being echoed by, you're not going to be surprised, industry groups. That's right. To advance their ongoing litigation to overturn the 15 state laws. For example, the outlet observed, the Consumer Data Industry Association, which represents credit reporting companies like Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, are likewise arguing that federal laws void state-level regulations of their conduct as part of their effort to block Maine's medical debt law. According to Chi-Chi Wu, an attorney at the National Consumer Law Center, told Bloomberg Law that the Trump CFPB's assault on efforts to remove medical debt from credit reports adds, quote, salt to the wound as tens of millions of people face surging healthcare premiums as a result, of course, the tax credits in the ACA not being extended. So, not good. The weekend, Century Foundation President Julie Margetta Morgan warned that the spike in premiums won't just blow an even bigger hole in a family's future budgets, it will pour gasoline on the already raging fire of medical debt in this country. And government leaders of all levels are not prepared for it. Look, that's just another layer on this shit cake, okay, that we're being force-fed right now as the American people. Everything that's going on right now, I think only will lead to one thing. Unrest. Massive unrest. You have 42 million people that will not have food stamps come November. That's coming up real soon, real quickly. Those people, millions of people, will not have food. That's not good. And if this government remains shut down, which it seems like Trump is more than happy to allow that to happen because it means that, I mean, he can continue to hide the Epstein files. Okay. You know, look, if this continues and they don't do anything about the tax credits for the ACA, millions of people are going to be losing their health insurance. They will not be able to afford the premiums. We'll create this death spiral in the health insurance market. Okay. HUD also making significant cuts to their housing voucher program, which would lead to about 400,000 people without housing. Okay? So when you take away food, housing, and the ability to see a doctor or to be able to afford your medication that you need, you take that away from people, that's not going to go over well. It's not going to go over well at all. And when people get desperate, when people have nothing to lose, watch out. Bad things are going to happen. Maybe that's what the administration wants. Maybe they want those terrible things to happen to get a response, to provoke people into a response so that they can justify a massive military crackdown. I don't know. All I know is that it seems like this administration is purposely trying to make as many people suffer as they can. As long as those people, of course, are not rich. Okay. One last story for y'all. Fun times. Earlier this month, MarketWatch reported that 22 states are experiencing shrinking or stagnant local economies, basically in recession. So now, since then, another state has joined in, making 23 states that are now under a recession, okay, experiencing recession. Out of them, Kansas is one of them, and it's a mix of red states and blue states, to be fair. Now, Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody, said that around 13 states are treading water, but now it's 12 because one of them was treading water is now under recession. 23 are experiencing persistent economic weaknesses. While Zandi says that the overall U.S. economy is not in recession, he said we're getting pretty darn close. He said, based on my assessment of various data, states making up nearly a third of the U.S. GDP are either in or at high risk of recession. Another third are just holding steady, and the remaining third are growing. And of course, that remaining third happens to be dwindling, but also are being driven by, I don't know, certain industries like healthcare, okay, which we're always going to need, okay, healthcare, and then hospitality. So that's about it. Now, Zandi said that the cause of this is Trump's economic policy, specifically tariffs, which we already knew, as well as massive federal job cuts. So the Doge having an effect here massively. Now, according to Zandi, a common theme of the states he says are in recession are weak farm economies or weak manufacturing. Now, the states that Zandi listed as being in recession are Wyoming, Montana, Minnesota, Mississippi, Kansas, Massachusetts, Washington, Georgia, New Hampshire, Maryland, Rhode Island, Illinois, Delaware, Virginia, Oregon, Connecticut, South Dakota, New Jersey, Maine, Iowa, West Virginia, District of Columbia, and of course, Michigan. So now, if either California or New York slip into recession, then we're done. Stick a fork in us. All right? That's it. The entire country, like, so goes New York or California, goes the rest of the country. Okay? Now, not a good thing. Not a good thing. Zandi says the U.S. overall is barely holding on. Both of those states, he explained, are bellwethers. Their economies are essentially stagnant, which is not good. California alone contributes about 14.5% to the U.S. GDP, while New York accounts for nearly 8%. That's according to data from Moody's. Now, he said that whether the national economy suffers a downturn appears to rest in the big California and New York economies. Both are struggling to gain traction. Payroll growth, he said, has come to a virtual standstill, with industries like construction, manufacturing, tech, finance, and government all shedding jobs. Only, as I mentioned before, healthcare and hospitality are adding workers. Now, a lot of the states that are going into recession, you may have noticed, voted for Donald Trump. And a lot of voters voted for Trump because he had promised to be better on the economy. Now, I gotta ask, do things look better? Do they? Because I ain't seeing it. I ain't seeing it. Unless you're very, very wealthy or you're into crypto or AI. Okay. If you're a very wealthy person, the odds are you're doing pretty great. The rest of us, however, we're not doing so good. Okay. And at the moment, though, thanks to the government shutdown, we don't have as much economic data, okay, that's coming out. For example, the BLS jobs reports and things like that, they're not coming out, but roughly we've been adding somewhere around 20,000 jobs per month, which is not good. That's not good at all. And so we don't really need that data right now to know that things are bad. I mean, all you got to do is look at your wallet. Look at your bank account. Okay? Beef is hit record highs. Okay? I can't afford hamburger anymore, much less coffee. Okay? Not good. Everything has increased in price, but our wages have not kept up. Now, you can gaslight people about a whole lot of things, but you can't gaslight people about their personal finances. The grocery bills don't lie, okay? Unlike our politicians who lie all the time. Look, a lot of these states, again, voted for Donald Trump, right? Not all of them, but Michigan did. Okay, Kansas obviously did. And so, look, what I tried to do prior to this election is to warn people, hey, bad things are going to happen. We're going to look like Argentina, okay? Argentina, not doing so good, okay? And so, I warn people, hey, that's the direction that we are going to go into, okay? We warned you. We said that, hey, maybe we shouldn't trust the economy to someone who has had 6 bankruptcies, okay? That he would do the same to this country, who left his first term, okay? He left his first term with us in a gigantic, hole, financial hole, and with a pandemic. Okay, and it said, look, he's going to do this again. He's going to do this same crap, but worse this time. And it's playing out exactly, unfortunately, that we want. I wish I would be wrong. I wish that I was wrong. I wish that we were very, prosperous. But we're not. We're not. Okay? And it's because these people didn't listen to the warnings. It'd be a TDS. Okay? We said that this man would just do terrible things to the economy. They didn't listen. They voted for mass deportation. They voted for mass firings. They voted for cutting taxes on the rich. And they voted for tariffs. And unfortunately, as a result of their vote, we are getting the day that they voted for. And it ain't looking so good. And so, there you are. I mean, there's not much we can do about it now. Okay? But this is where we're at. And all I can say is, buckle up and brace for impact. Okay. Before I head out, I want to read a super chat here. VMan 29397 with a very kind $10 super chat says, "The youth have the duty to defend the homeland with the weapons of knowledge," said Pedro Albizu Campos, who's a lawyer, labor leader, president of the Puerto Rican Nationalist Party, leader of the independence movement. There you go. Unfortunately, you have a lot of the youth that have turned massively right-wing in this last election. And I don't necessarily know if enough of them are turning back. Okay. Welcome to plutocracy. We've already been there, sir. We've already been there. Why am I paying for Walmart's employees? We have been long subsidizing companies like Walmart that purposely underpay their employees because they know that those welfare programs exist and that they're allowed to pay people such little amounts of money that they qualify, that they're in so much poverty that they qualify for those benefits. It is nothing more than a subsidy to these giant corporations. And of course, as a result of that money not going out in November, what do you think is going to happen to the food prices? It's going to go way up. Because they got to recoup that money somehow, and they're going to take it from the rest of us. Walmart, Amazon, Boeing, AT&T, and every other major corporation depends on corporate welfare, aka U.S. taxpayers footing their bills. You're absolutely right, Andrea. It's 63.79. So 100% on that one. we really do have a corporate government. Okay, a government for the corporations and by the corporations, and people are just used as basically a way to funnel money, taxpayer money, to these corporations. All right, so, oh, by the way, what the U.S. did to Pedro was messed up, jailed him, and did radiation experiments on him until he couldn't speak. Jesus Christ. That is absolutely horrifying. Not surprising considering the history of the U.S., like the Tuskegee experiment and all that stuff, and how we treated black people, et cetera, et cetera. But nonetheless, absolutely horrifying. Yeah. So thank you for that, by the way, for the very kind super chats. Thank you for supporting the show. If you haven't already, please like and share stream. Very important that you do so. Become a member, a patron, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf, or a channel member. And you can also be like me, man, and send super chats if you enjoy the show, or super thanks. So that's another thing that you could do when we're not live. So with that said, that's all I got for y'all today. Please, have a good day. Tomorrow we'll be over on this face doing the Wednesday stream, and so come check us out over there. If you don't want to go over there, that's totally fine. We'll have the videos posted up here on our channel as always, and of course the audio of that live stream will also be here on our Patreon. It's patreon.com/jeffwaldorf, and it is not behind a paywall. So if you want to listen to it, you want to download, do whatever, awesome. You don't have to pay anything for it. So that said, if you do want to, I'm not going to say no. Okay. Anyway, thank you all. Have a great afternoon. Love you, and we'll see you back here on Thursday. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody.